Welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast. I'm Gavin Williams alongside.
Charlie Caleri.
And now, everybody, we got to stand up. We got to get ready because it's Super Bowl week, Super Bowl Sunday. Let's ride.
Biggest week of the NFL season. Biggest spotlight on the NFL season, NFL year. It's all coming to a close on Sunday. It's pretty sad. The season went by quick.
A little too quick.
It just seems like last week we were talking about Bills Cardinals week one.
Wow, yeah.
Felt like we were talking about Eagles Packers in Brazil.
Oof.
Now we're talking about the Eagles playing in New Orleans, which, by the way, first Super Bowl in New Orleans since that power outage game between the Ravens and the 49ers back in 2013.
Hopefully Kendrick Lamar doesn't cause another problem.
I don't think he will. He likes the lights off.
Does he turn the TV off?
Turns TV off.
Wow.
TV off. Yeah.
Wow.
So shout out Kendrick. That's my guy. That I'll be wearing a Kendrick Lamar shirt
I like that.
on Sunday because I don't want to wear the
DNA?
color. No, I just have a Kendrick Lamar shirt.
All right.
It's brown, and I'm not wearing green or red that day.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'll be rolling with the brown and black pants combo on Sunday, and rooting for a good game, and rooting for and I won't give you my prediction yet, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Today, we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl, like Gavin said, and we're also going to be talking about the NFL Honors, which happens on, when does that happen on, Gav?
I think
Saturday?
that's the day before the Super Bowl.
Saturday, usually. And we'll be talking about who we think should win all the awards based on the finalists this year. We're doing it a little bit different than we did last year. Last year, we did it based on just who we thought, the Out of Bounds Awards, and Russell Wilson was our MVP, Mr. Unlimited, on the Denver Broncos, not the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, now we're going to go based on the finalists, make it a little bit more realistic for you guys. But, Gav, what do you think about the Super Bowl right here? This is huge.
I mean, this is huge. I'm going to click a pause.
Oh.
Just to announce the ceremony's on February 6th, so Thursday at 9 p.m.
Oh, Thursday.
9
Tomorrow,
p.m.
as
Eastern
we're
Standard
recording
Time.
this.
Yeah.
All right, so we got to get this out today.
We do.
All right, let's get it out.
All right, so click play. Here we go. Super Bowl. A lot of people are disappointed, obviously. I think I'm a little bit more excited than everybody for this one because I just love Super Bowl rematches. I love the thought of them. I love the integrity. I love the chippiness.
I'll agree with you there. I'm under the same impression. As a football fan, I'm very excited for this game. This is going to be a great NFL football game, and I've been telling everybody I'm going to treat this like a normal Sunday night football game. I'm not going to – obviously the Super Bowl logo is going to be everywhere, but in my head, the way that I need to view this game, I just want a good football game, and I think a lot of America wants that too. Even if people say they're, quote, not watching it, everybody's going to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, let's think about this. We got Super Bowl Sunday. Maybe we get a little tosta pie going on.
Maybe.
Wish it was one Jenny pie.
Ooh.
Shout out one Jenny.
Shout out one Jenny. I've had one Jenny before up in the 315 up in Utica.
Yep.
Shout out.
That would be great, but not driving 3.5 hours to have cold pizza by the time we get back. Sorry, not going to
You
happen.
can always reheat it, man. You always reheat it.
But I'm excited. We'll pause on the game itself. Who do you think is going to have the best commercial? We're going to get a lot of teasers.
So
A lot of teasers.
I've been thinking about this a little bit. I think it's going to be Bud Light. Let me
Wow.
tell you why. Shane
comeback.
Gillis and Post Malone have been unreal and hilarious in those commercials so far.
They
And I
have.
think they've been gearing up for a huge Super Bowl commercial.
Wow.
And I'm just saying, I think that's going to be a comeback kind of revival for Bud Light. That's what I think. That's my prediction right there.
Okay. I mean,
It's a great question, though.
Yeah. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of teasers. I haven't been paying attention to who's who. Like, I think they just come at me too quick. But there's one with I don't remember for who, but it was one with Matthew McConaughey. He's dressed up as
I know.
Mike Ditka.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be funny.
That's yeah.
But just because that's Bears related, I'm gonna go with a Doritos commercial because those are always great.
The Doritos commercials are always good. I was gonna say
Great.
E-Trade when they did those commercials with the baby were always good.
Yeah.
Tostitos usually has a good, or is it Tostitos or it's avocados from Mexico?
Avocados
Sorry,
those are always
those are always
top,
good too.
top of the line. What's your favorite Super Bowl commercial ever?
That's a tough question. Oh well, okay. So not my favorite one, but the one that gets me the most emotional
Yep.
is,
Yep.
and you know this one, I think, is the Budweiser
Dog
with
and
the
horse.
with the Clydesdales.
Yep.
And this guy, oh my God, I'm tearing up thinking about it right now. This guy has his, I'm not even a horse guy. This guy has a Clydesdale. right? Which is what Budweiser is known for, having the Clydesdales. Has it, grows up with it, raises it, or not raises it, but like trains it, whatever. And then one day he has to sell it, I think. And then all of a sudden one day he's at a random parade and he sees the Clydesdale and the Clydesdale sees him. And they just gave each other a look, a little nod. Like, that was really it. They were kind of fine with that. And then all of a sudden he's driving with his dog in the truck. And then all of a sudden he turns around. Clydesdale's running after him, man. I mean, what a commercial.
What a commercial.
With Fleetwood Mac in the background,
Come
too.
on.
I mean, it all ties together. I mean,
It's a good one.
it makes you cry. Makes you cry, man. That's all I'm going to say.
Really, really good one.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that was what I was going to say. Plan B, I guess?
That you were going to say that one?
Yeah, it was.
Really? When I see your reflection.
I'd maybe the NFL 100-year anniversary
Ooh.
commercial.
Where they were all in the suits and stuff and at the banquet
was a
or whatever.
fumble.
Yeah, there was a fumble. Yeah. That was a really good one. Yeah.
I like that one.
I like that one too.
We got a
A
lot.
lot of good commercials.
Yeah.
E-Trade Baby was good too. I already mentioned that one, but
I think I'm forgetting about the barcode. Hit the top right of the screen. Got everybody.
the
Oh,
Tubi
oh,
commercial too.
Yeah,
from a few
the one
years
that
ago.
like the click pause or something, and everybody
Yeah.
searched for the remote. Genius.
Yeah, that was
Genius.
that was the last Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl as well.
It was.
So could we see that again from Tubi? To be determined. They also need to stop with this kick of destiny thing, man.
Nah, that's
Like, FanDuel's been
garbage.
doing this thing for the last 3 years. Like, Gronk didn't make it the 2 years. Now they're doing Eli Manning. Like, they're just drawing this out, man. They're just trying to get years out of it. But
Yeah, they're doing like the Peyton or the Manning brothers.
yeah, but that was a good pause from the game. Now let's get into the game.
Yeah.
What do you think? Obviously, what do you think is going to happen in the game? But specifically, what do you think is going to really impact the game and change the game? Because it's going to be a close one, I think.
Oh yeah. The betting lines open up at 1.5 favorite for the Chiefs. I like the line. I think it's a Super Bowl where you kind of have to favor the Chiefs, but if you're an Eagles fan, you like that because you like being an underdog. But specifically in this game, the game changer, the one who's going to completely flip the script from what happened 2 years ago, my opinion, Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's kind of hard to look past that man right there wearing number 26 in the midnight green. It's kind of tough. He's a beautiful football player. I mean, just knows how to use his feet, use his legs, use his power, spin moves. Come on. The kid's unstoppable.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, Saquon Barkley is going to be obviously a huge factor in this game, especially against that Chiefs D line who's been playing really well the last few weeks, especially on that one play, late fourth down against the Bills last week. We'll see what Steve Spagnuolo has to say about Saquon's rushing attack this year. I actually think they're going to keep him in check pretty well.
I think
Chiefs
so,
have a pretty decent run defense. Defense just overall has been playing pretty well this year. Their linebackers have stepped up and can step up when they need to. And on the flip side of that, while we're talking about the Chiefs D line, I guess. What about Chris Jones versus that Philly O line?
No,
that's gonna be a good matchup
That's gonna be
too.
a great matchup to watch. I mean, Chris Jones is having one of his best years of his career, and I think this can be the Super Bowl where he makes the game-changing, the game momentum-changing play, and that could be really cool for him. I mean, like he's an emotional guy. He cries for every national anthem, I think. He's bawling his eyes out on the sideline after the win.
He's an emotional American, man, and you got to appreciate that.
I always appreciate that. And I think that this is going to be the Super Bowl where we talk more about him than we talk about, like, a Kelsey or anything. So I think this is a big game for Chris Jones for his legacy in Kansas City.
I think so, too. Yeah, and obviously, I mean, you got guys going for their fourth ring. I mean, many people, not a lot of people, but a decent amount of people have 3 rings. Not a ton of people have 4 rings, especially a core like that not mostly stays together. But you got 5 guys that probably have been on all the teams, including all the coaches that have been there all these years. Just really impressive from the Chiefs. Also, Andy Reid coming back for another season next year was announced yesterday. That's very important to note because that'll be obviously a storyline during the game. Let's go on the outside here. We talked about the trenches a little bit. That O-line, D-line. In the Philly O-line, something to note is those 2 centers, too. Is Juergens, their starting center, and I guess their backup center or their left guard, Landon Dickerson.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to be healthy enough to start in that guard position? Or if Juergens isn't healthy enough, is Dickerson going to be healthy enough to slide into the center there? Hurts is going to have to, manage that a little bit, but I think they'll have it figured out. They did pretty well last week without him.
They did.
So, but talking about the outside now, let's talk about A.J. Brown versus Trent McDuffie.
That's a good matchup. And I think Trent McDuffie's one of the most slept-on corners in the league. I think he's very, very talented. But when you think about a guy named A.J. Brown, who just knows how to go absolutely berserk when you need him to, I think you got to toss him the rock at least 5 times. At least. He's got to have at least 6 catches in this game.
I think the targets are way more important than, obviously, you want the catches, but I think you need to target A.J. Brown 10 times in this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
He has not been utilized as much as you want him to throughout this playoffs. I think that could be really a help to the Eagles in this game, too.
Especially going over film.
Right. A.J. Brown, obviously very physical receiver. Trent McDuffie is probably just as equally physical on the defensive side. He's actually probably a pretty comparable DB to A.J. Brown. This is going to be a really good matchup on the outside, something to watch. Wouldn't be surprised if Trent McDuffie comes away with the turnover in this game. Just saying that. If you are a prop bet guy, that could be a specific person for a pick. I assume A.J. Brown's going to get a lot of targets. He should. Could that open up room for Devontae Smith, though?
This is the thing. He's also been kind of quiet. And I think the main man that, except for A.J. Brown, that they need to look for is Dallas Goedert. You need your big guy when you can find holes in the middle of the coverage when they're playing zone. I mean, they do play a lot of man as well. So, I mean, if you can just get some out routes, some zig routes, you got some corners. I mean, there could be a lot of open room for some Dallas Goedert this Sunday.
Yeah, and very, very true. I mean, Dallas Goedert's got a lot of traction this week over his production in this game. And, he's kind of struggled this year, and he's had kind of a down year. Because Saquon's had such a good year, too, is probably a factor in that, too. But he stepped up in the playoffs when they needed him to. All the tight ends have. I mean, the tight ends in this playoffs have been great, including Zach Ertz, last round, former Philadelphia Eagle. But, yeah, we talked about the Chiefs linebackers, how they're flying around. But they're mostly flying around on the rushing attack.
They are. Like Karlaftis is really flying around on the rushing.
Yeah, Nick Bolton, too. And Goddard's going to be, obviously, in the passing attack against those guys. So that's going to be something to note. Can those guys stay with them in coverage? Can they stay with him and not let him get too much separation? It's going to be something to watch there.
Something to really watch. I mean, I think both sides of the field, too. Can the tight ends make a difference in the game? Including Kelsey in that conversation.
So I want to ask you a question. What do you think about the Chiefs? Like, do you think that there's going to be a lot of explosive plays in this game, I guess? Do you think that both secondaries can keep the top on, I guess, and just allow those 20-yard plays as the max that the Chiefs and Eagles can go?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest rules of any football game, any team, anything, is nothing over your heads. Let them have the 5-10-yard routes, just nothing over the heads. And I think with the Super Bowl history that Patrick Mahomes has, there's going to be a couple. There's going to be 2, 3, but I don't think it's going to be like previous Super Bowls where we've seen absolutely electric plays.
We're also I know we're mostly fully indoors every year, but this is fully indoors. There's no retractable roof. There's going to be no open airway in this stadium that could potentially play a factor too.
Yeah.
In chucking a deep ball. I mean, it's a lot easier to chuck a deep ball in a full indoor stadium than, say like SoFi is kind of open air. Obviously it has a roof, but it's kind of open air. That might change it a little bit. Speaking of the wind, this is going to be a big game for the kickers.
A huge game.
Bucker and Elliott, both older kickers with a ton of experience.
Great kickers. Both Super Bowl champions. Elliott struggled recently.
Bucker has done really well this year.
He's been locking in.
He's been locking in.
Ever since he came back from that injury, he's been locked in.
Yeah. The Chiefs, I think that this game will come down to obviously who executes, and I think the special team is going to be a big part of that. Field position is going to be a huge part of this game.
Huge.
Just like we said, the explosive plays aren't going to be as important. I think the only explosive plays that Philly can really get and that we've seen, it's been Saquon runs. It's been those 60-yard touchdown runs from Saquon. He usually breaks about 1 a game, which is pretty crazy. Let's see if he does it this game on turf. I don't know. But it's going to be some good matchups in this game, some individual matchups within the game. So about another matchup that nobody's really talking about is Sirianni versus Reed. Nick Sirianni really needs to prove himself in this game. For the Philly fans, for himself, for his team, for the organization. They all need to see that from him. What do you think that Sirianni can do specifically in this game to beat Andy Reid?
It's tough. Just 2 years ago, these teams matched up. He put up 35 points on the Chiefs. It wasn't enough because they had 38.
Yep.
So I think the main focus of Sirianni's game plan has to be his defense. and he has to figure out ways to not put the Chiefs in the 30-point range. They have to stay under the 27, the 28 threshold that they probably are looking forward to stopping them to. And I think if you're game planning for this, obviously you can game plan both sides equally, but there has to be a specific focus on how to keep Mahomes contained because he's been using his legs.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that they really need to look, because he's not a runner, but he's been breaking a ton of plays in this playoffs with his legs. And if you just have, they have their front line is absolutely unreal. And if Jalen Carter can just keep that athleticism going, make sure he stays contained, make sure he has both arms on his legs. That's going to be something that I'm looking for, that the Eagles need to keep the Chiefs locked in on, is Patrick Mahomes' running ability in this game.
Yeah, I agree. In the Chiefs run, that I call it the Chiefs triple option, where it's like, obviously it could be Worthy either getting a motion, which usually he does, and that could be a handoff to him. It could be a handoff behind to Pacheco or Kareem Hunt, who both of those running backs have been running angrily throughout this playoffs. Or Patrick Mahomes drops back to pass, either delivers usually a good pass, or he'll scramble out himself. That's what I call the Chiefs triple option.
Yeah.
And it usually works, it's funny because the Chiefs triple option is just an offensive play, and it usually works. But like you said, that threshold of 30 points, that's going to be huge in this game. The Bills didn't get to that. That's ultimately why we ended up losing the game. The Chiefs have only scored 30 points, I think, twice this season, maybe 3 times. It's less than 5. I know that, less than a handful. But yeah, if the Eagles can keep them to that threshold and they can get over it, feeling pretty good about the Eagles' chances in this game. Especially this year. Yeah, especially this year, because last time I felt like the offenses were a little more, I don't know. When you're in your first Super Bowl, like Jalen Hurts was, you try to take a few more risks than you do.
Yeah.
And
so you have nothing to lose mentality.
Right. And mind you, this was Mahomes' only second Super Bowl at the time, so he was taking a few more, I guess, risky play. Or was the third? Third. Sorry, I always forget about that Bucs game. But second Super Bowl win. He was playing a little bit differently than he will now too. So I think you'll see both guys settled in, taking the easier reads, just playing a more calm game, which I think will ultimately lead to a better game, like we saw last year with Purdy and Mahomes battling back and forth there. So I think that'll be a good game between the quarterbacks as well. It's all mini matchups. They match up really well against each other. It's just going to be a really good football game, and I'm just really excited for it overall.
This is going to be hopefully one of the games of the Super Bowl century. That's what we pray for every Super Bowl.
I hope so. We got a great game last year,
and before that,
and the year before. So we're maybe due for a bad game. And the year before that was pretty good too. With the last bad Super Bowl that we had was the Bucs beating the Chiefs, which actually was a good Super Bowl now that we look back on it. But that Rams-Bengals one, really good Super Bowl, I thought.
It was a great Super Bowl.
It came down to the last drive.
Game-winning drive.
Came down to the last drive. What a defensive stop by. I love the defensive stops to win the game, too.
Those are the best.
That Aaron Donald ring me moment when
helmet comes off.
Yeah, helmet comes. That's just at home. That was electric for LA. And then even the Chiefs game against the Eagles, it ultimately came down to a penalty. But the Chiefs were, I don't know, that was a good game.
It was a really good game.
That was a really good game. But hopefully we get a good game this year. Bottom line. Hopefully we get a good game this year. Got one last year. But who do you think, now let's get into it.
Yeah.
Talking about winning the game. Who do you think's going to win the game?
The Lombardi Trophy, one of the most historic trophies ever. It's got a little history. Love Vince Lombardi, Packer legend. First man to ever raise that. Second man to ever raise that. It's named after him for a reason, but something that he didn't do was raise it 3 times. He won 3 NFL championships twice, all back-to-back, but they weren't Super Bowls. And that's one of the most, if the Chiefs get it done, it'll be the most impressive Super Bowl, I think, of all of Patrick Mahomes' career, unless he does it 4 times in a row. But, 3 times in a row, not even the GOAT did it. Not even Tom Brady did it. And I think with that pressure, you don't want to fuck this up. Pardon my language. But this is something, you can't mess this up.
No, you can't.
And Patrick Mahomes has a lot on his back. And Jalen Hurts also has a lot on his back, because if he doesn't win this game,
it's a different kind of weight that they're both carrying, yeah.
I think Philly's looking at Jalen Hurts as, all right, get this done. Because, you already messed up the first time.
Right.
and Patrick Mahomes has the entire Chiefs kingdom on his back. Like, ride or die until the day he retires. And with that being said, I have the Kansas City Chiefs raising it up again. For the first time in NFL history, a three-peat will be made. And the Chiefs will get it done because of the explosiveness from Patrick Mahomes. I don't think they're going to find a way to slow him down. I think he's going to use his legs, even though that's something I pointed out for the Eagles to stop. I don't think that's going to be something they could stop because when you have 6 seconds in the pocket, it collapses, and that's an automatic 5-10 yard run. With that being said, I also have Kareem Hunt having a better game than Pacheco in this game. I think Kareem Hunt, the way he's been playing this entire year, has proved why he deserved to be signed by the other 31 teams in the whole league.
I agree. I agree with you there. I was going to mention Kareem Hunt.
And he's going to be a huge piece in this game.
Yeah, he's a hard runner. He's probably going to score a touchdown if they get down in the red zone there, because they've been going with him in the red zone, not Pacheco.
They have.
So, yeah.
And so I think there's going to be a couple turnovers from Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to throw a pick in this game. And I think the only thing that's going to go right for them is their Philly special, or the tush push, and Saquon Barkley. But I don't think Jalen Hurts' arm is going to win this game for them. And for that being said, I have the Kansas City Chiefs going 3 in a row.
Yeah, totally. Who's the? Do you have a score?
Yeah, I mean, come on, we always got to score in these games. I got 35 Chiefs, 31.
Not holding
Eagles.
them over that threshold.
Not getting them. No, I mean, that's gonna be a good game. I really do think it's gonna be a good game.
An MVP?
Yeah, it's got to be Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
If you go 3 in a row, it's a popularity contest. I don't care how great
I agree.
like Chris Jones plays, because I think he'll have maybe a strip sack in this game. Maybe he'll punch the ball out on a tush push. We'll see. But I think that Saquon Barkley will still have 2+ touchdowns in this game.
Wow. So, great prediction. I agree with you on 90% of that.
All right.
But what I disagree with is I think the Philadelphia Eagles are coming out on top of this game. I think they're going to win 29-27.
I like that score.
Final score.
I like that. That might be a scoregami.
29-27. 28-27.
Okay.
No, 29.
I like 29.
29-27. Eagles win.
Ride with it.
And all I'll say is I don't know who's going to be dominant for the Eagles, but I think it's going to be a defensive player. And I think that for the first time since Malcolm Smith, we'll get a defensive Super Bowl MVP.
I love that. Did Von Miller get it?
Maybe.
I think Von Miller won.
You're right.
I think Von Miller
He might have won that year that the Broncos won.
I think he did.
I think we're going to get, I don't know who. I don't know if it's going to be Zach Bond. I don't know if it's going to be Quinyon Mitchell. I don't know if it's going to be Jalen Carter. It could be anybody.
It could be
Cooper DeJean, for all we know. I think there will be, and Jawan Jennings was probably going to win last year if the Niners won. Okay? So all I'm saying is that I think we're due for a weird, weird
I like that.
Super Bowl MVP. Could be a defensive guy, or it's going to be like a Dallas Goedert or something. It's not going to be Dallas Goedert, but like somebody, somebody like that.
I love that guy.
Also, something to note before I get into the game a little bit is I think if Devontae Smith wins the Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP, he potentially is the best trophy case in professional sports. He has a national championship, a Heisman, a Super Bowl,
the Heisman,
and a Super Bowl MVP in one of each. So if he could just retire, then he'd have one of each for each one. That would be pretty impressive too. So, but within the game, I think Saquon's gonna play pretty well. I don't think he's gonna pop off one of those 50+ yard runs like he usually does. I think that the thing with Saquon will be the efficient runs that they need. Every time that they need 6 yards, he's going to get 6 yards.
Yep,
Every time that they need 5 yards, he's going to get 5 yards. And 3rd and 5, he's going to get a big run. He's going to be the running back that you lean on, like a Derrick Henry, to get you those tough yards. He's not going to be the finesse back like he usually is. And I think A.J. Brown, like I said, is going to play a big role. I know I think Trent McDuffie is probably going to have a pick in this game too, the more I talk about it.
I like that.
I think that Jalen Hurts should go after A.J. Brown. I think they should go after Dallas Goedert in the red zone. All that combined, I think the Eagles' defense could hold the Chiefs to under 30 points. Ultimately, I think they can win the game. So I got Eagles 29-27, potentially game-winning field goal from Jake Elliott as
that
time
would
expires
be electric
to win the game. Let's ride. Go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly. How about them?
So unfortunately, I don't have a specific MVP.
Okay.
But I'm just going to say defensive guy. Basically anybody but A.J. Brown, Saquon, and Jalen Hurts. I think it's going to be the field.
Okay.
You know, so that's my pick.
All right. Super Bowl. What year is this one?
59.
59.
59.
Super Bowl 59. I got Chiefs. Charlie's got Eagles.
I got Eagles. Hey, I like that. I think you had the Chiefs last year. I think I had the Niners.
Have the Chiefs last year.
I had the Niners last year, so hopefully we can flip that around. But let's get into the awards now. Saturday night, like you said.
Thursday night.
Thursday
Back
night.
to back.
Thursday night on February 6th.
At 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fox.
Shout out Fox. The NFL honors are on, and we're going to go through the 8 awards that they have this year. A new award has been added. Pretty interesting award, too, that I think is long overdue.
Way
Way overdue. And I think it's because the importance of that position now. Let's get right into it because that's the first one we're going to talk about. The Assistant Coach of the Year, the new award, or official new award that has been deemed in the NFL honors. So now there's 8. And the finalists for this award are Joe Brady from the Buffalo Bills, Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles, Brian Flores, defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings, and Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, the coordinators for the Detroit Lions, who are both now new head coaches. So great field of coordinators there. I think they got the best ones, in my opinion.
They did it. They did it right.
Gav, who do you think is going to win this award?
I'm down to 2 guys, and they're both from Detroit. That's how I'm thinking. I'm thinking of Ben Johnson. I'm thinking of Aaron Glenn. Ben Johnson had the best offense in the entire league this year. But I'm going to go Aaron Glenn because what he did with that defense with all those injuries throughout the entire year is some of the most impressive coaching I've ever seen in my life. So I'm going Aaron Glenn.
I agree with you. Yeah, I'm going Aaron Glenn. I had Ben Johnson written down, and then I just thought about how good the Lions' offense was compared to the Lions' defense, and I actually thought they were pretty comparable. And the fact that was pretty comparable between the players that they had on both sides of the ball and the injury disparity, like we've talked about all year with the Lions, I think you got to give it to Aaron Glenn. I don't know. I could totally get behind Ben Johnson, but the things that Aaron Glenn had to scheme up for that defense to be successful and to hold teams to enough points for them to put up enough points for Ben Johnson to do his thing, I think you got to give it to him. So shout out to the Jets for getting him. Like we said, that was an A+ hire. By the way, if you haven't listened to that episode where we graded the coaching hires, that was last week. Go listen to that episode.
It was a good one.
And we'll be posting these picks and our Super Bowl predictions on our Instagram
at Out of Bounds Podcast with a dot between every single word.
Pretty soon, probably tomorrow or Friday, they'll be up there. So stay tuned for that. Moving on now to the Head Coach of the Year award, which is just Coach of the Year. The finalists for this award are, and let me know if you think there should be anybody in there that's not in there, Gav.
Okay.
Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, Sean Payton, Dan Quinn, and Andy Reid. Those are the finalists.
Those are some good I don't think I can argue why one of them shouldn't be there.
No, I'm not saying you should. I'm just saying in general. Like, let me just know if you.
There are some coaches that I think need to be pointed out. I hate saying this a lot, but Jim could be on this list.
I agree.
Jim Harbaugh turned that team from nothing into a playoff team.
And unfortunately, I unfortunately think that the playoffs had a factor in that. And I know that the playoffs don't play a factor, but when they happen, it happens right away, and it's the first game, it's got to stick in your mind a little bit for the voters. So, right, but the Chargers were not a healthy team by all means this year.
No,
and they still were successful. Had a pretty comparable or worse roster than they had last year, and they were way better. Made the playoffs. So I agree with you. I think Jim Harbaugh should be on there, but who do you have winning it? Of the guys that can win it?
I'm down to 2 guys. I think that's how I'm going to be. Down to 2 guys, 3 guys maybe. The 2 guys I'm going with are Sean Payton and Dan Quinn. And for the reason, both those coaches took rookie quarterbacks and had very, very low expectations and both made the playoffs. I'm not going to go into the history of what they went through in the playoffs. Because if I were, it would be Dan Quinn. I think Sean Payton should win the Coach of the Year, because you take not a top 5 pick, because Jaden Daniels was number 2 pick. You got Sean Payton with all the absolute garbage fest he went through last year. Turn that team around, one of the best defenses in the country. And then you have a very bright future in Bo Nix. And clinching a playoff. I mean, Sean Payton did it right, and I think Sean Payton should win this award.
Let me mention something. So, looking at the betting odds for the Coach of the Year, or just all the award odds, and Jim Harbaugh is 5th in the odds, and Sean Payton is 6th.
Wow.
By the way. And the guy that I'm going to pick is 4th. And that's Dan Quinn, like you were saying. I think that Dan Quinn should be the Coach of the Year. Led the number 2 overall pick. Number 2 overall pick. That's how bad they were last year. Number 2 overall pick. Led a franchise that hasn't really done anything since RG3, success-wise. And even if you want to go back to that, to the Doug Williams days, back then, or Joe Theismann's days, I guess, they haven't been really successful at all.
Let's just say they weren't the same team name.
And they were not the same team name. A lot has gone on there. I mean, new ownership has really helped this team. I think Dan Quinn bringing in first-year head coach, kind of similar to Sean Payton. I mean, just turning around a franchise, like you said. Finding their franchise guy when they haven't had one for a while. It's a big deal for a team. I mean, I can experience that as a Bills fan. It means a lot to your team to just have the coach and the QB in place. Everything else is way easier to figure out from there. And I think that Washington has that. I think Dan Quinn is the Coach of the Year. No question, in my mind.
Something to add on to.
But Kevin O'Connell is the betting favorite at minus 10,000 or minus 1,000. So he is hefty favorite for this, which I totally get. 14-2 or 15 or 14-2 regular season, whatever it was.
14-3, I think.
Yeah, I don't even know what the 17 games now. Yeah, whatever. But really good regular season, just disappointing playoff game. Kind of a similar story to Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh there. But I got Dan Quinn. You got Sean Payton.
I just want to add one more thing. I don't know Dan Quinn's position, because maybe he was one of the other two, but preseason, Broncos were slotted in to finish around 30th. So the fact that you brought him to the playoffs also gives me another reason.
I think the Commanders were 31.
They probably were.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, very true. Comeback Player of the Year is next. In an interesting field of players here, kind of all over the board here, but I think some very guys that deserve to be on there. Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, J.K. Dobbins, Christian Gonzalez from the Patriots, and Damar Hamlin for the Buffalo Bills. A good finalist list. And Gav asked me a question before we came on. He said, why is Damar Hamlin a finalist for this? And I agree. He was a finalist last year, didn't win. But I think the difference is that last year he was nominated because he came back.
Okay.
Because he came back from his injury. This year, he came back from his injury, yeah. But he was actually a really good player this year for us, too. And he stepped up when we needed to. And that's the reason. It's more because of his play.
Okay.
Not because of the story, I guess. And I think that was more of it last year. And why he actually didn't win and why Joe Flacco won it over him, I think, was because of the play.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Outruled that. And I think that's why they nominated him this year. But I didn't actually pick Damar Hamlin, unfortunately, the Buffalo Bills to win. I picked Joe Burrow. Do you?
I also picked Joe Burrow.
I don't think you can go any other way with this. I mean, the dude led the league in passing yards, passing touchdowns, on a not great team, too, a not great offensive scheme, in my opinion. And he just worked with what he didn't have. So I think that alone should get Joe Burrow Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't even have to say anything, but the dude came back from injury. And then you got a guy on this list like Sam Darnold. What did he come back from? From sucking?
Sam Darnold, I think he's just comeback player, like just on the
Because he
bench.
sucked.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the same.
You know, you get thrown in a good offense, you're going to play well. But
Comeback Player of the Year is like the NBA Most Improved.
It's
just like
back from injury.
Yeah, it's just like good storyline or like.
Yeah.
Actually, you want me to redo the description right here?
Yeah, I got Joe Burrow, but we're going to listen to this.
NFL Comeback Player of the Year is given to the players overcome the most adversity after failing to play or playing poorly the year prior.
Okay.
So,
I mean, that can make sense.
So I feel like all those guys fit in there. And Christian Gonzalez, we're not giving enough
No,
credit
I
to
mean,
either.
he played a great year.
Unreal this year in a really good defensive scheme that they're kind of throwing out the window now. Hopefully he can continue it going. I think he will.
Think he can.
He's a special talent there, and so against some really tough receivers too in the AFC East. So shout out to Christian Gonzalez there. Don't love giving love to the Patriots, but sometimes you have to.
Yeah. A lot easier nowadays, though.
Yeah, I know. Next award is Defensive Rookie of the Year. Who do you have in winning this one?
This is a tough one. There's a great list here. I mean, we got Cooper DeJean. I mean, we have Quinion Mitchell. We got Chop Robinson, Jared Verse. I mean, we have a lot of great guys. Did I forget one?
Braden Fisk.
Sorry, forgot about Braden.
Also on the Rams, yeah.
But
so 2 Rams, 2 Eagles, and a Dolphin.
when I'm looking at a guy who absolutely balled his butt off, and a lot of people counting him out, going Jared Verse for my Defensive Rookie of the Year. A lot of people were counting out that Rams defense with the absence of Aaron Donald, which that's why Fisk is on this, because he filled in that hole, that giant hole. But in that defense, I think the key player was Jared Verse. And I think he had a better year than the other 4 nominees.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Jared Verse too. Just like you said, yeah, sliding into a defense like that when they were expected to have a down year. I mean, they made it to the divisional round. I mean, what a year from the Rams too. And now they have 2 defensive linemen for the future that they can really lean on. I mean, I heard somebody say it was like Aaron Donald retired and turned into 3 different players. It was like he turned to Verse, Fisk, and one of their, I think Kobe Turner, their D tackle. But I mean, just an impressive D line, evolving from one of the greatest of all time to could be one of the best dynasty D lines of all time.
Yeah.
Jared Verse, just some of his stats this year, he had 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, but I don't think that shows the impact that he really had on the field.
Oh, you'd have to watch the game.
I don't know his QB pressure stats and his pressure rate percentage stats and stuff like that, but it was pretty high, and it was up there with some of the best in the league, and some of the guys that were nominated for Defensive Player of the Year had just similar stats as him. So great year from Jared Verse. Only good things to come from him, probably.
Agreed. Now we're going to move on to AP Offensive Rookie of the Year. And let me just say something right now. We have a great goddamn list here. I think this list I'm about to name is what makes up of the future of the NFL. Brock Bowers, Jane Daniels, Malik Neighbors, Bo Nix, Brian Thomas Jr.
Unreal.
Stacked.
And guess who's not even on that list is Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, not even a finalist, number 1 overall pick, and he still had an amazing season. Just on an
for the Bears.
Just on an underperforming team. Yeah, but the league is in great hands with these guys. I mean, this class was unreal. I don't think there was maybe a miss in the first round. And I think, honestly, you can make a case for almost any of these guys to win.
You could.
I personally, have Jaden Daniels. But I really, really, really want to pick Brock Bowers. I really do. But Jaden Daniels, it's kind of the same thing with Dan Quinn. It's just bringing that team from what they were to what they are now and what they're going to be in the future. It's just really important for that franchise and that fan base. You saw how much it meant to that fan base just to have a QB that wants to be there, that wants to build a culture there. I think all those things tie in. Obviously, his play in the second half of the season really, really bolstered that. But I just think he had an overall better year, full year, than maybe a guy like Bo Nix or Brock Bowers. So I have him winning.
Yeah, with my pick, I have Brock Bowers because I'm looking at records broken here by a rookie tight end. Brock Bowers now owns those records. And
Jaden Daniels did break a few records too. I don't have them pulled up though,
So I think with Brock Bowers, that team was garbage. But why was the only reason you ever watched Raiders highlight or game? It was because of Brock Bowers.
Brock Bowers, yeah.
So with that being said, I have Brock Bowers in this one.
I like that. Yeah, Brock Bowers broke the rookie reception record. I don't think he broke yards.
Tight end yards, I think.
But he broke tight end yards, rookie reception, obviously tight end rookie reception. Just unreal season from him. He's only going to get better, which is crazy to think about.
Just praying he gets a quarterback to throw him the damn
Yeah,
ball.
and that was the other thing I was going to say. Hopefully they can get him a QB that is watchable, that we want to watch him play with. But yeah, unreal from all the rookies there, defensive and offensive, but especially on the offensive side of the ball. We're in great hands in the future here. in the NFL.
We are.
So let's move on now to NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you got winning that one?
We
It's
have
a tough list.
great names again. I mean, Zach Bond, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Pat Surtain, and we got TJ Watt. I mean, all these guys are so phenomenal. But as of recent, this has been a D-line contest. It's going to switch this year because I have the best corner in the league winning this award this year. And I don't care if they don't announce him, but I'm saying it. Patrick Surtain. I mean, that guy is amazing.
I agree with you.
He's absolutely amazing.
I agree.
He's the best corner in the league, and he deserves this award more than any of those four on the list, in my opinion.
I agree, and a lot of people are vying for TJ Watt, and I totally get it. I mean,
Yeah.
I totally get it. But honestly, TJ Watt had a down year, and which obviously
No,
is
it's crazy,
a better
yeah.
year than most people. But Pat Surtain was the glue in that Denver defense that we've been talking about all year. I mean, I think another guy that should have been on this list was Nick Bonito,
He
also on
played
the
phenomenal.
defense. He played maybe better than Pat Surtain did, but Pat Surtain was the glue on that defense, held everybody together. He really proved this year that he is the best corner in the NFL.
He did.
He had the least separation yards against in the league. I think he had 11 pass deflections, 4 picks, 1 forced fumble, 34 tackles as a corner, which is crazy, and not letting up that much separation. He's all over the field. I mean, he just does everything.
He has great stats against the best receivers in the league, too.
Yeah, I think this is a year where you really need to watch the games to really pick the MVP, or not the MVP, but any award. But like we've been saying with the MVP, it's kind of that kind of feel this year. I think it's kind of the same thing with Defensive Player of the Year. You can look at the stats and be like, oh yeah, Myles Garrett, could be TJ Watt. Those guys have just had all the sacks. Like, I mean, whatever. But Pat Surtain really held that team together, held that defense together, and he was the best defensive player in the NFL this year.
Hands down. Hands down. Now we're going to move to the Offensive Player of the Year. Finalists are Saquon, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry, and Lamar Jackson. Stacked list. I mean, every year, the Offensive Player of the Year is usually a stacked list. We've seen some questionable people on these past couple of years, like a little mixing of Dak Prescott, I think last year, the year before. This year, we have a great list.
I mean, dude, like Justin Jefferson didn't even make this list.
I know.
And he had a great, like, Jahmyr Gibbs didn't make this list. Like there was guys that, Josh Allen didn't make this list. Like, there was guys that could have made this list that didn't. But it's rightfully deserved for these guys. I mean, Joe Burrow has a case to win it. Most passing yards, most passing touchdowns, most passing, or in the league.
QBR, I think, too.
Yeah. Jamar Chase, obviously with the yards that he had this
He
year.
was the best receiver in
touchdowns.
football this year.
Derrick Henry with all the yards and touchdowns that he had this year. Lamar Jackson was just the year that he
Lamar,
had.
yeah.
But the guy that I have winning is Saquon Barkley. I mean, rushing for almost 2,000 yards, which
He did hit 2,000.
almost breaking the record, hitting 2,000 yards. Should have broke the record for Eric Dickerson's record, but sat out that last game. Just an unreal season from Saquon. The first year in Philly, and he's doing all this. I mean, it's got to be a sour taste for Giants fans, man. I can't imagine.
No, yeah, it's a very sour taste. And I want to point something out. The last running back to have 2,000 yards was Adrian Peterson. And that year, he won an MVP.
Yeah, he did. He did.
So I think, I mean, according to records show, he should be the MVP. I don't think he will. So that's why I'm putting him as Offensive Player of the Year. But if for some reason Saquon were to win it, I'm not going to lie. I'm throwing this ball to Jamar Chase. This guy was unreal this year. And I think he was the most slept on.
I love that pick.
Most slept on and the best receiver of the entire league for this year. So if Saquon doesn't win it, he's going to win the Offensive Player of the Year. But if Saquon wins it,
So who's your winner of Offensive Player of the Year? Or does that depend on who your MVP pick is?
It kind of depends. I mean,
All right.
Then again, I don't. So the two guys I'm down to are Jamar Chase and Saquon.
I think we got to make a decision here.
It's a tough one. I mean,
I think we got to make a decision here.
I'm going to go Saquon.
All right.
But just know that I really do believe it's Jamar Chase. But I have to go Saquon because I know they're not giving that award, even though he deserves it.
Well, who do you think's gonna? No,
He deserves it.
Then you should pick Jamar then, because that's who you think should win it. That's all we're doing here.
That's what we're doing.
So you're
yeah.
going Jamar.
I'm going Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't say Saquon just because he's gonna.
No.
He probably is gonna win it, right? But I mean, if you think that, I mean, TJ Watt's probably gonna win Defensive Player of the Year too.
That's true.
But we both picked Pat Surtain
That's
because
true.
that's probably the right pick.
I'm going Jamar Chase, Offensive Player of the Year.
Believe in yourself.
And that segues my way into the MVP as well. So for the MVP, the finalists are Josh Allen, Saquon, Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson. I think of 2 guys on this list. I think if Joe Burrow got to the playoffs, he'd be the MVP.
I agree.
He didn't
get there though.
Saquon Barkley was the most valuable player to their team this year,
I would disagree.
hands down. And I think there's a good case for your guy. I know, he's my 1A, 1B. He's my 1B, because you look at the Eagles from last year. You plug in Saquon, and now they're the best team in the NFC. Give me Saquon for the MVP. 2,000 yards. Enough said.
I mean, You good? I'm gonna get into a spiel.
No, get
here.
into it, man. I know where you're going.
Let's look at the name of this award. Let's start back there. Most valuable player. Most valuable player, not best stats award. Most valuable player. And if you watch the games this year, the most valuable player in the NFL was Josh Allen. And I don't think there's a dispute about that. And I have stats to back it up, man. 2024 was the 5th year in a row that Josh Allen was the first player in the NFL history with 40-plus touchdowns in 5 straight seasons. Okay?
Combined or throwing?
Just combined.
Combined.
But the first player ever in NFL history with 5 straight seasons of 40-plus touchdowns. Also, most points in a season in franchise history for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen sat about 11 quarters this season, 12 quarters this season.
Wow.
That's about 3 games, and we still scored the most points in our franchise history. Bills offense over the last 3 games. I think this was around I'm looking at the graphics that the Bills have posted. I think this is around the Lions Niners game kind of area,
Okay.
Rams game. 17 touchdowns, no turnovers, no sacks.
No, that was a hell of a stretch he had there, yeah.
Offensive player of the
yeah.
week in week 15. I don't know if he won it any other week, but week 15 against the Lions, he was the offensive player of the week. In the 4-game stretch from the Chiefs, the Niners, the Rams, and the Lions, he threw for 1,114 yards, 8 passing touchdowns, had a receiving touchdown, 223 rushing yards, 7 rush touchdowns, and took no sacks in those 4 games. First player in NFL history with 35 or more passing and rushing touchdowns in 4 consecutive seasons. That was as well as his 40-plus in 5 straight. So that's an even more impressive record there, because nobody's reaching that other record, it seems like. Most career games in NFL history with 2 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown reached this year. First QB ever with a passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown in the same game. Most touchdowns in team history he reached this year. On 4th and 2, with 2:27 left in the game against the Chiefs, he had a 1.2% chance of scoring that touchdown. And I think that's the play that really defines it all right there.
Oh, the
that
play of the year?
1.2 on 4th down that Josh Allen scrambled for the touchdown against the Chiefs to win the game. That was the play that really solidified his
That was
case
his
to
MVP
push
moment.
it. To push it, that was his MVP moment, like you said. And I think for all those reasons, I think if you watch the game, if you really watch the game, you know that he is the MVP. JA-17, QB1, Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen is the MVP of the 2024 NFL season. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think there's everybody out there who's listening and is probably like, it's Lamar, and that's why you said the stats.
That's fine.
But
And I've been saying it all year. I think Lamar is totally deserving. I think everybody on that list, including Jared Goff, is deserving of the MVP. Okay? And I know that's crazy to say. But Lamar Jackson was just as good as Josh Allen this year. But everything, and yes, Lamar Jackson did beat Josh Allen in the regular season. It's a regular season award. I get that. But just looking at the games, I don't know. All I keep saying is if you watch the games, dude, he was the better player. He was the better player. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know.
I know.
And,
I'm just saying.
And most valuable to his team. I mean, like you were mentioning, most valuable to his team, right? I mean, he didn't have a running back like Derrick Henry in the backfield.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know James
yeah.
Cook was great this year, but he didn't have receivers like they did this year. I mean, Kincaid wasn't as good. The defense, he's better than any defensive player they have. You can't really make the case for Lamar like that on the Ravens, at least.
The only case
and
for
9
Lamar
Pro
is
Bowlers also
statistics.
doesn't help too for the Ravens too. So
I think the battle is just the statistics with Lamar, and that's why a lot of people think.
and
he
that's
should
fine,
be.
and that's fine with me. But if they do give it to Lamar this year, I just need them to take a step back and really look at this award, because last year Allen had better stats than Lamar, and Lamar won the award.
Well, that wasn't Lamar's award.
And Lamar won the award. So I think if either you're just evening it out or whatever, I think Allen's the MVP this year. So
All right.
yeah,
He's got Allen.
he's the MVP.
I got Saquon Barkley. I got Saquon. I made my case.
All right. Oh yeah. I forgot. I forgot that you switched from Saquon to Jamar.
So
that spiel really got me going there.
It did. Yeah. Got a little pressure cooker
Wow.
over here.
Wow. Well, that's the awards.
Yeah.
NFL honors Thursday night, 9 o'clock. You said
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock on Fox. Shout out Fox. And I hope those are all right. If they're not the end of the world. Look for these on our Instagram.
At Out of Bounds Podcast with a dime between every single word.
Yes, it is, Gavin. And you got anything?
It's Super Bowl. Get ready. Get your beverages. Get your food. Get your chicken wing dip. Get your pizza. Like, come on. It's Super Bowl Sunday. Let's go.
Lock in. I mean, also, don't sit down too early to watch the game. You know the game's not going to start right at 6:30.
Yeah.
I mean, save yourself some time. Don't rush down there at 6:30.
Unless you need a good
get down
seat.
there for the anthem. Get down there for the anthem. Watch that. I don't know who's singing it this year.
I don't know, but if you're battling for a seat, you're gonna want to get down there. But
You're
if
going to
not
want to get down
battling,
there. But if you're not battling,
just go enjoy
take your
it.
time. Enjoy the day. Root for some good football. And that's really all I can say. So go Bills.
Go Pack Go.
Go Sabres. 4 in a row. Go Clips. We will have a college basketball episode potentially coming this week. Stay tuned for that. Before the Super Bowl, probably. So stay tuned for that. We might have a special guest for that episode. New special guest. Stay tuned. Thank you guys for listening. Have a day.
Have a day.